يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. كربلاء لا زلت كربا وبلا. Truly, Karbala is a land of distress and calamity, of trials and tribulations. كربلاء لا زلت كربا وبلا، ما لقي عندك آل المصطفى. كم على تربك لما صرعوا من دم سال ومن دمع جرى، وحصان الذل يروي دمعها خدها عند قتيل بالظما. تسفك الشمس وجوها منهم لا تدانيها ضياء وسما، وتنال الوحش من أجسادهم أرجل السبط وأيمان الندى، ووجوها كالمصابيح فمن قمر غاب ومن نجم هوى. غيرتهن الليالي وغدا جاير الحكم عليهن البلا. يا رسول الله لو عاينتهم وهم ما بين قتلى والسبا. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Remembering the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein salawatullahi alayhi, we will recite a portion of the maqtal insha'Allah. I beg your patience insha'Allah. Again, due to the time restriction, we cannot do the whole maqtal, so we will begin insha'Allah with the maqtal of the ashab. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. They say after the Imam salawatullahi wasalamuhu alayhi and the companions of the Imam had given their lectures and had given their sermons, and that there was no answer for but a few individuals. The companions of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam were standing when Umar ibn Sa'ad la'natullahi alayhi fired the first arrow. When he fired the first arrow, he says, bear witness I want you guys to be my witness to the governor, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, that I am the first to fire that I am the first to fire an arrow towards the Ahlul Bayt salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Then the Imam says to his companions, get up and face the death from which there is no escape. May Allah have mercy on you. The arrows of these people are the messengers to you. They say the Imam's companions attacked in one formation. They attacked as one individual. It wasn't but a few moments when the dust settled. They find that 50 of the Imam's companions had fallen. Brothers and sisters, 75 verses, 77 verses, thousands. They say then Habib and Burair jumped to respond, but they say that Yasir, a slave of Ziyad, and Salim, the slave of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, they came out for a duel and they said, who wants to fight us? Habib and Burair jumped to respond, but the Imam refused to grant them permission. However, Abdullah ibn Umayr al-Kalbi from Bani Ulaym responded and was given the permission to move forth. His title was Abu Wahab, and he was a tall, muscular man with wide shoulders. He was an honorable man in his tribe, brave and experienced in battle. Imam looked at him and he says, I anticipate him to be a killer of heroes and strong men, and I think he shall be their equal. As he approached the battle, the enemies that asked, who are you? He says, I am Abdullah. The men looked at him and says, "We do not know you. You are a stranger and thus unworthy of a duel." They say Abdullah turned to them and said to them, "O son of the adulterous woman, are you not interested in fighting me?" And he charged at him attacking him. While he was fighting against him, Salim headed towards him and launched an attack. Abdullah's companions warned him and said, "Beware of the slave, he is about to attack you." But Abdullah paid him no mind. However, when he attacked him, Abdullah turned and he shielded himself with his hand, cutting the fingers from his left hand. They say then he turned upon them and he killed both of them. His wife Wahab, then he returned to the camp. His wife Wahab, daughter of Abdullah, took a post from one of the tents and came towards her husband and said, "May my father and mother be sacrificed in your stead. Fight defending the honor of the progeny of Muhammad." Abdullah wanted to return her to the tent, but she refused and persisted, saying, "I will not leave you until I die with you." Then he called on to Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein looked at her and said, may the family of the Prophet reward your kindness. Return to the tents, for women are not obliged to fight." Upon hearing this, she returned. When the companions of Imam saw how many of their friends had gotten killed, they asked for permission from the Imam to fight in groups of 2, 3, or 4, so that they would defend and support each other on the battlefield. Then came the two Jabariyan, Sayf ibn al-Harith, and Malik ibn Abdullah. They were cousins from the same father. They were cousins to their father. They were cousins from their father's side. They approached Imam al-Hussein salawatullahi alayhi crying. The Imam asked them, "Why do you cry? Why is it that you cry? I surely hope that you will be very pleased in but a short while." They said to him, "Ju'alna fidak ya ibn Rasulillah. May we be sacrificed in your stead. We are not crying for ourselves, but it is for you that we cry, because we see you surrounded by the enemy, and we cannot be of any assistance." Imam Hussein blessed them and their kind gesture, and they went to fight. Until they were killed. Then came Abdullah and Abdul Rahman al-Ghafariyan. They were hurt, so they were so affected and hurt to see the people attacking the Imam. They said to him, "We are upset and hurt to see you being attacked." Then they went forth to fight, and after a short while they were killed. Brothers and sisters, we will move to the main Sahaba because the narration will take too long, inshallah. However, they say they continued fighting. All the Sahaba continued fighting. And every time one of the Sahaba fell, Imam al-Hussein would come to them and he would say, فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ قَضَى نَحْبَهُ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَنْتَظِرُ وَمَا بَدَّلُوا تَبْدِيلًا. Amongst them are some who have fulfilled their pledge to Allah, and among them are some who still wait, and they have not changed in the least. Habib approached Muslim and said to him, "Your martyrdom," one of the companions, "your martyrdom hates me." And he said with a faint voice, "My apologies." Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahsantum. When Imam al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi looked around and saw that his companions were all killed and there were but a handful of them left, they say he called out with a loud voice. Allah's anger increased on the Jews when they claimed that he had a son, and his anger increased upon the Christians when they made him a third of 3. and his anger grew greater on the Zoroastrians when they worshipped the sun and the moon instead of him. And his anger increased on a people who united to kill the son of the daughter of their prophet. By Allah, I shall not succumb to any of their demands until I meet my Lord covered in my blood. Then Imam al-Hussein called, Ama bin Mughith yughithuna, Ama min dhabbin yadhubbu an harami Rasulillah. Is there no one to help us? Is there no one who will defend the sanctity of the Messenger of Allah? When the women heard him, they started crying and weeping heavily. The two Ansariya brothers, Sa'd ibn Harith and Abu al-Hutuf, were in the camp of Umar ibn Sa'd. However, when they heard the Imam cry out for help and his family crying, they turned against their own army and started defending the Imam alayhi salam until they were killed. When Imam al-Hussein's companions saw that their numbers were decreased and dwindling, and that only a few were left, they started fighting one after another in dual form. Then Umar ibn al-Hajjaj yelled at his companions, Do you know who you are fighting against? You are fighting the heroes of this land and the people of faithful insight, those who are fearless in the face of death. Any one of you who goes to fight them will surely be killed despite their low numbers. By Allah, if you were to fight them simply by throwing stones from a distance, then you'll be able to kill them. Umar ibn Sa'd alayhi la'natullah agreed and says, You are right, tell the men not to fight them individually, rather to charge towards them. Then Umar ibn al-Hajjaj attacked the right wing of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, intending to crush the army of the Imam with his horses, with his cavalry. However, the Imam's companions knelt down and dug their spears into the ground towards the enemy, thus scaring off the horses and bringing down the attack. And as his men retreated, the companions of the Imam salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi wa alayhim showered them with arrows, killing some and injuring others. Umar ibn al-Hajjaj was encouraging his men to fight and told them, fight him who left the religion, fight those who have left the religion and divided the unity of the people. Then they say, the Imam responded, he says, Wayhaka ya Amr, O to you be O Amr. Are you arousing people to fight against me? Are we the ones who love their religion and you are the one who follows it? You will know when our souls leave our bodies who will be punished in hellfire. Then Amr ibn al-Hajjaj attacked from the side of the Euphrates River, and the armies fought for a while, and in the scrimmage, Muslim ibn Aqil participated as well. And Muslim ibn Awsaj, my apologies, Muslim ibn Awsaj participated and was attacked by Muslim ibn Abdullah al-Dababi and Abdullah al-Bajali. A fierce battle ignited between them to the point where the sand filled the air, and when the dust settled, the Muslim ibn Aqil was nearing death on the ground. Imam Hussein and Habib ibn Madahir came to Muslim, and the Imam said to him, Rahimakallah, ya Muslim, may Allah have mercy upon you, O Muslim. Amongst them are men who fulfill their pledge, and those who are still waiting, and they change nothing in the least. Habib approached Muslim and said to him, O Muslim, your martyrdom hurts me, O Muslim, but be ready for the paradise. Muslim in a faint voice replied, May Allah grant you blessing, Ya Habib. Habib then said to him, O Muslim, had I not known that I will follow you shortly, I would have liked for you to give me your will and tell me what is important to you. Muslim ibn Aqil replied, Usika bihadha al-gharib, take care of this stranger in this land, Fight until you die defeated, defending him. Habib replied, I will do by the Lord of the Kaaba. With those last words, Muslim had taken his final breath. They say at that point, one of the women of Muslim yelled out, Aywa Muslima, Aywa Sayyida, Yabna Awsajata. The people who were with Umar started cheering and shouting, we killed Muslim. Shabath ibn Rabi'i replied, may your mothers weep over your dead bodies. A man like Muslim is killed and you are rejoicing. But he had one honorable thing that I wish that I wish anybody else were to have. I saw him in the battle of Azerbaijan, where I remember he killed 6 of the non-believers before the Muslims' cavalry even approached. Shimr, alongside with the group of the soldiers, attacked the left wing of the camp of Imam al-Hussein, but were stopped by the Imam's companions. In the battle, Abdullah ibn Umayr al-Kalbi fought and killed several men. However, shortly thereafter, Hani ibn Thabit attacked him and cut off his right hand. And another La'in cut off his leg, and he was taken as a prisoner and killed. His wife Wahab then walked towards his body and sat next to him. She wiped the blood off his face and said, congratulations to you for going to heaven. I pray to Allah, who granted you paradise, to make me join you as well. Then Al-La'in Shim ordered his slave Rustum, and he said, hit her on her head. So he came and he struck her on her head with a post. The slave did so, and she died. She died there beside her, and she was the first woman who was martyred from the companions of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Abdullah ibn Umayr al-Kalbi his head was then severed and was thrown towards the camp of Imam al-Hussein. His mother took the head and wiped the blood off of it, then took a pose from the tent and came out to fight the enemy. When the Imam saw this, he says to her, Ya Amat Allah, return back. May Allah have mercy on you. Fighting is not required over you. She returned saying, Oh Allah, do not end my hope. Imam Hussein replied to her, Allah will not end your hope. Then came out a boy, then came out Wahab ibn Habab al-Kilabi, who was a Christian lad that had become a Muslim through Imam Hussein. In addition, his mother and his wife were with him, who had also converted to Islam. His mother said, get up, my son, and support the son of the daughter of the Prophet of Allah. He replied, I will do so, my mother, and I will not fall short in doing so. Wahab came out and said, if you do not know me, know that I am from the tribe of Kalbi. You will see my bravery today, and my strikes, and my attacks, and my reach in battle, taking my revenge after the revenge of my companions, and I will push the enemy to retreat in front of the enemies. My fight in battle is no joke. He then attacked and continued to fight until he killed a group of the enemy soldiers. And then he returned to his mother saying, Oh mother, have I fulfilled my obligation? Are you pleased? She replied, I will not be pleased until I see you killed defending Al-Hussein. His wife came up to him and said to him, Ya Wahab, do not leave me. I swear upon, do not make me weep over your death. His mother, however, encouraged him, saying, My son, leave her alone and go back and fight, defending the grandson of the Prophet, so that you may achieve intersection from his grandfather on the day of judgment. He then returned to fight, continuing the battle with both. Then he returned to fight, and during the battle, both of his hands were severed. When his wife saw that, she came out running with a post in her hand from the tent. She ran towards him, saying, "May my father and mother be sacrificed in your stead. Fight defending the honorable family of the Messenger of Allah." Surprised at her statement, Wahab asked his wife, "Just a few moments you were telling me to deter from the fight, and now you are coming to fight with me." She said, "Ya Wahab, la talumni, do not blame me. فإن واعية الحسين كسرت قلبي. The tragedy of Hussein has broken my heart." Wahab says to her, "What happened? What did you see?" She says, "Oh Wahab, I saw him standing at the foot of the tent, calling وَقِلَّةَ نَاصِرًا. How few supporters I have." They say Wahab cried and told her, "Go back, the ladies may go back with the ladies and do not fight." However, she refused. Then Wahab said, "Oh my master Aba Abdullah, return her to the tent," and the Imam did so. The enemies then attacked him from all sides until they killed him. Shamr then attacked Imam al-Hussein and shot at him with a spear. Then he called out and shot at the tents with spears, and he called out, "Bring me the torch, that I might burn down the tents along with the people inside them." The women shouted and came out running, crying. Imam Hussein then called on to him, "O son of the Joshan, are you saying you are going to burn down my tents with my family inside? May Allah burn you in his hellfire." Then Shibth ibn Rabi'i scolded him, saying, How have you become? How low have you become? And how scarce and how low have you become to be an individual who frightens women? I have not heard a saying worse than yours, nor seen an action uglier than yours. Shimr then became embarrassed by this and left the tent. Zuhair ibn al-Qayn then went with the group of his companions and dispersed the enemy away from the tents. When Uzr ibn Qais, who was one of the heroes, who was on the horse, saw his men were falling and being defeated, every time they attacked, he sent message to Umar ibn Sa'd, asking him for more men. Husayn ibn Umayr was sent to him with 500 archers. The fighting became very intense. However, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam's companions continued to defeat them, even killing their horses and forcing the enemy to fight them on foot. The enemy could not attack from one side, could only attack from one side because the Imam's companions' tents were between them. Ibn Sa'd then sent men with strong sticks and spears to the tents from all sides, trying to surround the Imam. However, the companions stayed in groups of 3 and 4 and attacked and killed men. Umar ibn Sa'd then ordered the men to burn down the tents and to scare the women and children. Imam Hussein then said to them, "Leave them be, let them burn down the tents. For if they burn down the tents, they will not be able to get to you." La ilaha illallah. Abdullah ibn Shatha al-Kindi, whose real name was Yazid ibn Ziyad, was with the army of Ibn Sa'd. However, when he saw the situation of Imam al-Hussein, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, he turned on his own men and joined the army of Imam al-Hussein. He was a marksman and an archer. So he sat and kneeled in front of Imam Hussein, shooting approximately 100 arrows, and with every arrow Imam Hussein would say, "Oh Allah, make his arrow reach its target and reward him with paradise." When he ran out of arrows, he got up and he says, "It appears that I've killed at least 5 of the enemy." He then charged at the enemy, killing another 9 before he was murdered. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. At that point, Abu Thumama looked at the sun and realized that it was the time for prayer, for Salatul Dhuhr. He said to the Imam, "May I be sacrificed for you? I see those people getting closer to you. But I swear by Allah that you will not be killed until I die defending you. However, I would like to have met God, having made this prayer, whose time is approaching." Imam Hussein raised his head to the sky and said, "You remember the prayer? May Allah make you among those who consistently prayed and remember Him. Yes, indeed, this is the start of its time. Ask the enemy to stop fighting so we can pray." Hussein ibn Umayr then said to him, "The prayer will not be accepted from you." Habib ibn Mudar replied, "You claim that the salat will not be accepted from the progeny of the Prophet, but it will be accepted from you, O donkey." Hussein ibn Umayr then attacked Habib, but Habib struck the face of his horse and it jumped, causing Hussein to fall off of the horse. However, his companions rescued him. Habib then fought them bravely by himself, la ilaha illallah, and killed approximately 62 of their men despite his old age. But Budayl ibn Suraym then attacked Habib and struck him with his sword, followed by another man from Tamim who struck Habib with a spear, causing Habib to fall to the ground. He wanted to get up, and as he was getting up, Hussein ibn Umayr then came back and struck him on the top of his head, and Habib fell to the ground. And this was followed by the attack from a man from the tribe of Tamim who killed and severed his head. The martyrdom of Habib ibn Madahir, Habibuna Habib, the Imam says, our beloved one Habib. So much that he said, "Oh Allah, from Allah I will wait for my reward, and the reward of my companions." Then he kept on repeating, "Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un." Then came Hurr ibn Ziyad al-Riyahi, along with Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, protecting brothers and sisters. Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi was the general of the army, and Zuhair ibn al-Qayn was a Uthmani. However, when they saw Imam Hussein, they both came to Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein is for all Muslims, for all free men. They went out fighting together, one protecting the other's back. The enemy the other would come, and whenever one would be in hardship, the other would come to his companions. They fought for quite some time in this fashion. But then the horse of Hurr was hit on its ear and above its eyes, and was bleeding during this time, while Hurr bravely saying, "Inni ana al-Hurr wa ma'wa al-Dayfi. أضرب أعناقكم بالسيف عن خير من حل بأرض الخيف. أضربكم ولا أرى من حيف." I am Hurr, and the protector of the guest. I hit your necks with my sword, defending the best who came into the land of Khayf. I hit you with no regret. He killed many of them until Hussein ibn Umayr said to Yazid ibn Sufyan, "This is Hurr, who you've always wanted to kill." Yazid said yes. Then he charged towards Al-Hurr, but he was killed by the Hurr right away. Then Ayyub ibn Mushra and Al-Khiwani shot an arrow at Hurr's horse and killed it. But Hurr jumped off the horse like a lion with his sword clutched in his hand, and started fighting bravely on foot until he killed 40 men, and he was heavily wounded and surrounded by the enemies. Imam Hussein's companions carried him to a place in front of the tent where he had taken his final breaths. At that time, the Imam says, "Anta hurrun kama sammatka ummuk, wa anta hurrun fi dunya wal akhirah." Indeed, you are free. Hur means the free one. You are free, a free man, as your mother has named you, and you are free in this world and the hereafter. Then Ali al-Akbar stood up and said, لَنِعْمَ الْحُرُّ حُرُّ بَنِي رِيَاحِ صَبُورٌ عِنْدَ مُشْتَبَكِ الرِّمَاحِ وَنِعْمَ الْحُرُّ إِذْ فَدَى حُسَيْنًا وَجَادَ بِنَفْسِهِ عِنْدَ الصَّبَاحِ. What a great Hur is the Hur of Bani Riyah. He was patient when the spears intertwined in battle, and he was a great Hur who defended Husayna, and he sacrificed himself first thing in the morning. Then Imam Hussein got up to pray with the remaining companions, and Zuhair ibn al-Qayn and Sa'id ibn Abdullah al-Hanafi stood in front of the Imam, guarding him from the enemy's arrows. When Sa'id was heavily wounded, he collapsed, saying, "O Allah, curse them like you cursed the people of Ad and Thamud, and send my regards to your Prophet, and tell him and inform him of the pain of the wounds that I received from the enemy. Allah, I want your reward for having supported the progeny of the final messenger." Then he turned towards Imam al-Hussein and said, "Oh, Ya Mawlai, did I fulfill my obligation?" Imam al-Hussein replied and said, "Yes, you did, and you are going into heaven paradise ahead of me." Then he passed away, may Allah bless him. And when he died, the companions found that he had taken 13 arrows to the chest, in addition to the spear wounds and the sword cuts that he received. When Imam al-Hussein completed his prayer, he turned to his companions and said, "O honorable ones, the gates of paradise are open, its rivers are flowing and its fruits are ripened, and the messenger of Allah and the martyrs and the martyrs who have been killed on the way of Allah are expecting your arrival, and they are proud of your accomplishments. So defend the religion of Allah and the religion of His Messenger, and protect the sanctity of the Prophet." They replied, may our lives be sacrificed in your stead, and may our blood be sacrificed instead of your blood. We swear in the name of Allah that no harm will reach you or your families as long as we live. Then Umar ibn Sa'd sent a man by the name of Amr ibn Sa'id, along with a group of archers, who began to shoot the companions of the Imam with arrows and killed their horses, that no soldier remained on a horse from the companions of the Imam except for Al-Dhahhak ibn Abdullah al-Mushriqi, who said, "When I saw the horses of the companions get killed, I went between the tents of our companions to protect the horse. Everyone from among the companions of the Imam Hussein who wanted to leave to fight, they would come to the Imam and they would say, Assalamu alayka ya ibn Rasulillah. And the Imam would say, Wa alaykum assalam wa nahnu khalfukum. He would say to them, and peace be with you, and we are following you. Then he would recite, فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ قَضَى نَحْبَهُ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَنْتَظِرُ وَمَا بَدَّلُوا تَبْدِيلًا. Then Abdullah ibn Thumama fought until he was bravely wounded. He had a cousin among the soldiers, Umar ibn Sa'd, and among the soldiers of Umar ibn Sa'd by the name of Qusay, who had animosity towards him. So he attacked Abu Thumama and killed him. Then came Salman ibn Madarib al-Bajali, who was the cousin of Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, and he fought until he was killed. Then came Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, who put his hands on the shoulder of Imam Hussein and recited, أقدم هاديا مهديا فاليوم ألقى جدك النبي والحسن والمرتضى عليا وذا الجناحين الفتى الكمية وأسد الله الشهيد الحيا. May I advance, may you be guided as a guided one. Today I shall meet your grandfather, the Prophet, and Al-Hasan and Ali al-Murtada, and the brave man with two wings, and the Lion of Allah, who is a living martyr. Then the Imam says, وَأَنَا أَلْقَاهُمْ عَلَىٰ أَثَرِكَ, and I will meet them after you. Zuhair ibn al-Qayn then went out into the battle saying, أَنَا زُهَيْرُ وَأَنَا ابْنُ الْقَيْنِ أَذُودُكُمْ بِالسَّيْفِ عَنْ حُسَيْنِ. I am Zuhair, and the son of Qayni. I use my sword to defend Imam Hussein. He killed a large number of them until Khuthair ibn Abdullah and Al-Muhajir ibn Aus killed him. Imam Hussein came to Zuhair as he lay dead and said to him, may Allah not distance you, O Zuhair, and may He cause your killer's curse and those who were turned into, may Allah curse your killers, the curse of those who were turned into monkeys and pigs. Then came Umar ibn Quzr al-Ansari, who stood in front of Imam Hussein, protecting him from the arrows of the enemies, and he was struck on his chest and his forehead, so that no harm would reach the Imam. And when he was heavily wounded, he turned to the Imam and said, have I done enough, O son of the Prophet? The Imam then replied, yes, you are. Yes, you have, and you are ahead of me in paradise. So send my salutations to the Messenger of Allah, and let him know that I will be following you shortly. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers, due to the time, we only have half an hour left. We will skip, inshallah, to the masab of Ahlul Bayt, if that's okay with you. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. When none of the companions were left the Imam except his family, they chose to fight and face death with bravery and honor. However, first they started to bid farewell to one another. The first of them to come out to fight was a person who looked like the noble Prophet alayhi salam. He was Ali al-Akbar, the eldest son of the Imam, who was 27 or 28 years old. The women surrounded him and said, have mercy on us, as we are strangers in this land and we cannot bear to lose you too. He ignored their pleas and came to ask his father for permission to fight. The Imam Hussein called. The Imam Hussein, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, called La ilaha illallah. The Imam Hussein, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, gave his permission to his son. When his son walked out into the battlefield, he says, In ana Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali, an'am wa akram. نحن ورب البيت أولى بالنبي تالله لا يحكم فينا ابن الدعي أضرب بالسيف وحامي عن أبي ضرب غلام هاشمي علوي. I am Ali, the son of Hussein, son of Ali. I swear by the Lord of the house that we are deserving of the Prophet. I strike with my sword, defending my father, striking bravely like a man from Hashim, from the children of Ali ibn Abi Talib. I swear by Allah that the sinner will not rule over us. Imam Hussein looked at him in pain, knowing that he would be killed very shortly. And with his eye full of tears, he shouted out loud, Ya Umar ibn Sa'd, ما لك قطع الله رحمك كما قطعت رحمي. Oh Umar, what is wrong with you? May Allah kill your progeny as you are killing mine. You did not respect my nearness to the Messenger of Allah. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. They say the Imam then raised his face towards the heavens and says, Oh Allah, bear witness over these people. As a man that has come out to them is most resembling of your Prophet in his in his way, in his family, with his features, his mannerisms, and his speech. And whenever we would long to see your Prophet, we would look at his face. Oh Allah, deprive them of the blessings of the earth, divide them, tear them apart, and make each one of them dispute with the other, and do not make their leaders pleased with them ever. They invited us, La ilaha illallah. They invited us saying that they will support us, yet they turned against us and are now fighting and killing us. He then recited, Indeed, Allah chose Adam and Nuh and the progeny of Ibrahim and the progeny of Imran over other nations. Then he says, some of them are descendants from the other, one descendant from the other, and Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. Ali al-Akbar continued to fight bravely. However, his thirst became intense, so he returned to his father to rest, speaking to him, saying, Oh, father, my thirst is killing me, and the sword is heavy, is weighing heavy, and the armor is heavy. It's making me very tired. Is there a way to have a drink of water, oh my father? The Imam said, Oh, what a terrible situation this is. Where can I get help? Oh, my son, soon you will meet your grandfather, and he will give you a most fulfilling glass of water, after which you will never feel thirst. Imam al-Hussein they told him, Bunay, carry out. Ali al-Akbar then returned back to the battlefield and fought the enemy with bravery, and Imam Ali, with the bravery of Imam Ali, killing many of the enemy. The total of number, they say that the total of individuals killed approximates 200. Then Murah ibn Munqidh al-Abdi, he says, May I bear all the burdens and the sins of all the Arabs if I do not make his father suffer with his loss. Then he snuck up on him from behind and attacked Ali al-Akbar with a spear that he thrust into the chest of Ali al-Akbar, or his side. They say Ali al-Akbar kneeled towards his horse, and the horse carried him in confusion. When he kneeled over the horse, he carried him in confusion into the enemy camp. And so the enemy surrounded him from all sides and began to stab and swing and cut towards Ali al-Akbar. So Ali al-Akbar called, Alayka minni salam, Aba ya Hussein. This is my grandfather who has given me his drink of water. وهو يقول إن لك كأسا مذخورا. Oh Hussein, he tells you that we are waiting for you and water is here waiting for you. They say Imam Hussein rushed towards Ali al-Akbar. He rushed towards him while keeping his own. They say in the narrations, brother, that Imam al-Hussein, when he heard the call of Ali al-Akbar, he would stand and sit. Sukaina would say to him, Abba, the voice is coming from there. He would say, Bala, Bunay, Bala, I know where the sound is coming from. So when he went to they say when he rode his horse, he went to Ali al-Akbar screaming, Aywa walada, Aywa Aliya. They say when he came close to Ali al-Akbar, he threw himself from the horse onto the body of Ali al-Akbar, saying, Bunay Ali, ala dunya ba'daka al-afa. بني علي على الدنيا بعدك العفا أما أنت فقد استرحت من هم الدنيا وغمها وأبقيت أباك لهمها وغمها وما أسرع اللحاق بك لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. They say Imam Hussein Salamullahi alayhi, then he ordered the Bani Hashim to carry Ali al-Akbar. Why? Because Ali al-Akbar's limbs were torn. Ali al-Akbar could not be carried by one individual. Rather, he was carried by all of Bani Hashim. He brought him back and he sat him into the tent, being carried on the cloth covered in his blood and his body cut into pieces from the swords. Then he gathered around him, then they gathered around him, beating their chest in greaves. They say then the women came out. When Zainab saw this, she called out, Aywa walada, Aywa Aliyah. Imam placed him in the tent. They say the women came, started crying, grieving, and beating themselves over Ali. And the leading all those women was Zainab al-Kubra, mourning and crying. And then they say, اليوم ألقى مسلما وهو أبي. They say Aqil ibn Muslim, Aqil ibn one of the sons of Aqil, Abdullah, one of the sons of Aqil, and whose mother was Ruqayya. He came out and he asked for permission to fight. Imam gave him permission, so he walked out today saying, today I will meet my father Muslim, and he is my father in pride. And a group of the people who were killed in the religion of the Prophet. He killed a group of the enemy until he was killed. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. They say then Hassan al-Muthanna, or Hassan the second, who was the son of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, who came out and fought and received approximately 18 wounds and lost his right hand, but he was not killed. Then came Abu Bakr, a son of the commander of the faithful, whose real name was Muhammad, and he was killed by Zajr ibn Badr. He was followed by Abdullah ibn Aqil, and after him came Abu Bakr, the son of Imam al-Hasan, and and his real name was Abdullah al-Akbar, whose mother was Ramla. Allahu Akbar. He too fought until he was slain. Then came his brother from his mother by the name of Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan. He was a young boy who had not yet reached the age of obligation. When Imam al-Hussein saw him, he hugged him and cried, and then he gave him permission to fight. He came out with his face as bright as the moon, holding a sword, wearing a shirt and trousers, and a pair of sandals, and he said, إن تنكروني فأنا نجل الحسن صبط النبي المصطفى والمؤتمن هذا حسين كالأسير المرتهن بين أناس لا سقوا صوب المزن. If you do not recognize me, I am the son of Al-Hasan, the grandson of the Prophet, the one who was guided, the one who was trusted. This is Al-Hussein, like a tied down prisoner amongst the people who may Allah deprive them His blessings. He started to fight until the sandal on his left foot had ripped off, but the grandson of the Prophet refused to fight barefoot. And so he stopped and to tie his sandals, not worried about the thousands of enemies surrounding him. As he was doing that, Umar ibn Sa'd ibn Nufayl, Al-Azdi attacked him. However, before doing so, Hamid ibn Muslim asked him, "What do you want? Why do you want to attack this kid? What do you want from this young boy? Isn't it enough all these men that have surrounded him?" Amr responded, "I swear by Allah, I will attack him." He did not leave Al-Qasim alone until eventually he struck him on his head with the sword. At that moment, the boy fell down and said, "Ya Am, oh my uncle." His mother was standing inside her tent and looked at him in shock. Like an angry lion, Imam Hussein rushed towards him and struck the La'een Amr with his sword. Tried to avoid it, but the strike by blocking the strike. However, the strike took off his arm, severed his arm from his body. They say Amr shouted so loudly that most of the enemies heard him, and a mounted cavalry force came to try to aid him. However, they met him with their chests, and they trampled him to death. By the time the dust settled, Imam al-Hussein was sitting next to Al-Qasim's head, while the head is on the lap of Imam al-Hussein's lap. And they say Al-Qasim was moving his feet in pain up and down. Imam al-Hussein looked at him and said, "May the people who killed you be distant from Allah's mercy. Your grandfather and your father will be their enemy on the day of judgment." Allahu Akbar. The Imam al-Hussein then said, "Azza wallahi ala ammika an tad'uhu fala yujibuk." It is difficult for your uncle that you call him, but he could not respond to you, nor respond to you, but could not help you. It is a voice whose attackers are many, but whose supporters are a few. They say Imam al-Hussein then carried him. He put his chest on the chest of Al-Qasim, but Al-Qasim's feet were dragging behind on the ground. Because however, Al-Qasim was a small boy, an 11-year-old, and Imam al-Hussein was a tall-statured man. They say the tragedy has weakened him to the point where he couldn't carry him. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Then the Imam raised his head to the sky and prayed, "Allahumma ahsihim adada, wa la tughadir minhum ahada, wa la taghfir lahum abada." Oh Allah, count them all of these enemies. Do not leave one of them, and do not forgive any of them. When Al-Abbas saw that the increase of casualties of his family, he turned to his brothers, from his mother and his father, Abdullah, Uthman, and Ja'far, and said to them, "Move forward, O sons of my mother, until I see that you have given your admonishment, seeking the pleasure of Allah and His Messenger." He then turned to Abdullah, who was the oldest, or who was the elder of Uthman and Ja'far, and instructed him, say, "Go ahead, my brother, fight until I see you killed, and I will count you amongst those who have supported the cause of Allah, and the house of the Prophet." All three men went ahead and fought until they were martyred. At this point, Al-Abbas was unable to remain patient. After witnessing all of these martyrs of his companions and family members, and seeing Imam Hussein in such difficulty without supporters, and the increasing cries of the women and children, he approached his brother and requested permission, saying, "Mawlai, Aba Abdullah, ya, oh my brother, oh my master, Aba Abdullah, give me permission to fight." They say Imam Hussein turned to him and said, "Ya akhi, anta sahibu liwa'i." Oh my brother, you are my banner bearer, you are my flag bearer. Imam answered, Al-Abbas answered, "I have lost my patience from these hypocrites, Ya Mawlai, and I want to take my revenge from them." Al-Hussein ordered him to go and get some water for the children. Al-Abbas approached the enemy and admonished them, and warned them of the anger and wrath of Allah, but they did not heed his warning, nor did it make a difference. Then Al-Abbas called, O Umar ibn Sa'd, this is Hussein, son of the daughter of the Messenger of Allah. You killed his companions and his family, and these are his women and children who are thirsty. Give them some water, as the thirst is burning their hearts. He said Then he said alayhi salam, or let him go to Rome or Hind or India and leave Hijaz for you and Iraq. Shamr answered, saying, O son of Abu Turab, if the face of the earth was all covered in water and it was under our control, we would not give your companion a drop of water until he pledges alliance to Yazid. Al-Abbas returned to his brother to tell him what happened. However, upon coming close to him, he heard the children crying from intense thirst. So the Hashemite sense and protection and chivalry aroused in him, and he rode his horse, taking the water bag towards the enemy. They say there were 4,000 men between him and the water, showering him with arrows, but did not threaten him, nor their numbers affected him. He attacked them with his sword until he dispersed them, allowing him to reach the water. When he arrived to the water, he walked into the water and took some in his hands to drink from it. But then he remembered the thirst of Al-Imam al-Hussein, and he recited, Ya nafsu min ba'd al-Hussein huni, wa ba'duhu la kunti an takuni. هذا حسين وارد المنون وتشربين بارد المعين تالله ما هذا فعال ديني ولا فعال صادق اليقين. Oh my soul, after Hussein be disgraced, for after him you better not be anything. This is Hussein arriving at death's door while you drink the cold water. By Allah, this is not the teaching of my religion nor my faith, nor the action of one who is truthful nor the actions of one who is truthful in his intentions. He filled the bag with water, mounted his horse, head back towards the camp. However, his path was interceded by the enemy. He attacked them and struck them with the sword, killing many of them. He dispersed them from his path while reciting the following: لا أرهب الموت إذ الموت رقى حتى أوارى في المصالي تلقى نفسي لسبط المصطفى الطهر وقى إني أنا العباس أغدو بالسقى ولا أخاف الشر يوم الملتقى. I do not fear death if death was to come to me, until I make the sword meet one another or my enemy. Myself is in defense for the self of the pure grandson of Mustafa. Indeed, I am the Abbas, the bringer of water, not fearing death when I meet it. Zayd ibn Raqad al-Jahni hid behind a date tree. They say when Al-Abbas came by him, he struck Al-Abbas on his right hand, severing it. Al-Abbas then took the sword in his left hand and attacked them while proclaiming, Wallahi inqata'tumu yamini, inni uhami abadan an dini, wa an imamin sadiqin yaqini. نجل النبي الطاهر الأمين. I swear by Allah, if you are to cut off my right hand, I surely will remain defending my religion. And the Imam with truthful intention, the grandson of the Prophet and the honest one. They say then another La'in hid behind another palm tree and struck him in his left hand. At this moment, Imam al-Abbas hugged the banner with his arms with what's left of them, and he said, O my soul, do not fear the non-believers, and bear glad tidings and mercy for the Almighty with the Prophet and the Master of the chosen. Indeed, they cut off my left hand through their acts of oppression. O my Lord, punish them with hellfire. At that moment, Umar ibn Sa'd ordered for the army to shower Al-Abbas alayhi salam with arrows. They say that when they shot the arrows, it blocked out the sun to the point where an arrow punctured the qirba, the water bag, and another arrow punctured the right eye of Al-Abbas, and an arrow hit him in the throat, and an arrow hit him in the mouth. He had no arms to fight back. He saw the water had been spilled from the water bag. He had no hands to fill the bag, nor a hand to fight back. So he stood there pondering, what do I do next? I have no water to take to Imam Hussein. I have no arms to fight. What am I going to do? At that moment, Al-Aid came up to Al-Abbas and struck him on the back of his head with a metal rod. The Imam Al-Abbas called out, أيوا أخا أيوا حسينا عليك مني السلام أبا عبد الله أدركني يا أخي. Upon you is my greetings. عليك مني السلام means I won't get to you. You won't get to me. Oh my brother, come to me, come to my aid. They say Imam al-Hussein rushed towards him. He came to him and he saw him with no hands and an arrow in his side, in his eye. They say Imam al-Hussein stood there, looked at him and started calling out, Al-Ani kasara dhahri. Now is when my back has been broken. الآن شمت بي عدوي الآن قلت حيلتي. This is the time I have no more resources. This is it. And this is the time when my enemy will mock me. They say Imam al-Hussein came to Al-Abbas, but Al-Abbas did not know who was at his head. So he says, Ya hada, uqsimu alayka biman ta'bud. I ask you by whoever you worship, give me but a few moments. حتى يأتي إلي ابن والدي يودعه ويودعني. Until the son of my father comes to me, my brother, so that I might say my goodbyes to him, and he says his goodbyes to me. And I smell him and he smells me. They say he knew it was Hussein because Imam Hussein hugged him and smelled him and kissed him. At that point, Imam Hussein wanted to carry him, but Al-Abbas refused. He did it a second time, Al-Abbas refused. The third time, Imam Hussein says, why don't you let me carry you, Ya Abbas? I want to take you to the tent. Al-Abbas alayhi salam, he says, Ya akhi, Ya Hussein, how do you take me back to the tent in such a situation? Zainab is waiting, Sukaina is waiting. They at least want water, leave me here. The Imam says, I will take you. He says, then Aba Abdullah, now you will carry me. But who is going to carry you, Ya Hussein? Leave me here. They say Al-Abbas passed away. At that point, Imam al-Hussein walked back, but he walked back bent over. He walked back with his head hanging low. The enemy surrounded him. He got angry. He says, Ila ayn tafirrun. Where will you run from me when you have killed my brother? Where will you run from me when you have broken my back? They say they left him be. He went into the tent of Ahlul Bayt. When he walked in, Zainab came to him. She said, Aba Abdullah, where is your backbone? Aba Abdullah, where is your supporter? Aba Abdullah, where is my brother? They say Imam al-Hussein answered her not. He didn't say anything to her. Rather, he walked to the tent of Al-Abbas and kicked down the main pillar, meaning that there is no one coming back. At that point, Zainab called out, Aywa Abbas, Aywa Akha, Aywa Dayatana Ba'daka, O Abbas, oh my brother, what are we going to do after you? They say Imam al-Hussein, when he heard Zainab say this, he said, Aywa Abbas, أيوا أخا أيوا ضيعتنا بعدك لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. They say Imam al-Hussein then would carry out into the army and come back and carry out and come back. They say, however, the last time he was standing there, he had come back. Zainab came to him. Zainab and a woman by the name of Rabab, the mother of Sukayna, who had a 6-month-old son by the name of Abdullah al-Radi', or Ali al-Asghar, named as Abdullah al-Radi'. She came to him, she said, Mawla ya Hussein, I can't give him anything. I have no water, I have nothing for him. Take your son, ya Hussein. They say Imam al-Hussein looked at the baby, and the baby was playing with the tongue. He was sticking his tongue out, he needed water. So Imam al-Hussein says, بَعْدَ لِقَوْمٍ قَتَلُوكَ. May Allah distance those ones who will kill you, O my son. Then he took his son to the army. He said, listen, if I have committed any act against you, I am an adult. What is the children's problem? Look at him. His mother can't feed him. There's no water. Take him with you and give him some water. The army started arguing amongst themselves. Umar ibn Sa'd feared that people will start joining Imam Hussein, so he looked at a man, a marksman, a la'een by the name of Harmala. He said, Ya Harmala, end the argument. He says, Ya Umar, what do you want me to do? He says, Ya Harmala, kill the child or kill his father. They say at that point, Harmala pulled back the string. He looked at Imam Hussein and the child. A small breeze of wind covered the neck of the throat of the child. He says, I saw my opportunity, so I took it. When I shot him, he says, the second the child from the heat of the arrow, he removed his hands from his swaddle and began to kick like a slaughtered bird. At that point, Imam Hussein looked at his son, didn't know what to do. What do you do when your son dies in your arms? So he put his hand under the neck of the baby until it filled up with blood and threw it towards the heaven, and he says, Ya Allah, la yakun alayka ahwan min naqat Salih. Oh Allah, the people of Salih, you tormented them for an offspring of a camel. This is the offspring of the Prophet Muhammad. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Then Imam al-Hussein had to return. What is he going to do? They say he put the baby under his cloak, under his abba, so nobody would see him. When he walked back, he was met by Sukayna. She says, Baba, my child, your son, my brother is quiet. Did you get him water? Or is there anything left over? He didn't talk to her. Rather, he went to al-Masa'ib Zainab. He came to her, he says, Zainab, take the child. Zainab says, Ya Hussein, cover the child. I can't see him like this. She took him covered, she put him in the crib. Then she called upon his mother, Ramla. The Rabab, they say Rabab came. When Rabab came, she saw that the crib was rocking back and forth. Zainab stood between her and the crib. She said, Rabab, did you hear that Ali al-Akbar has been killed? She says, yes, my Sayyida, I did. She said, Rabab, did you hear Al-Qasim has been killed? She said, Bala Mawlati. She said, Rabab, did you hear my son Aoud has been killed? She said, yes, my lady. She said, Rabab, did you hear Abul Fadl al-Abbas, that he has been killed? She said, Mawlati, what are you getting at? Did my son follow in the steps of his fathers and his uncles and his cousins? She said, Rabab, your child is in his crib. They say Rabab came to the crib. She saw her child with his throat slit. She sat by the crib, shaking the crib and singing a lullaby to the crib. Imam Hussein salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi took the child. Then he buried the child in the encampment. He dug a little grave for the child, and he buried him. However, Al-La'in ibn Al-La'in, They say after the battle has finished, he dug the child up and removed his head. ساعد الله قلبك أبا عبد الله. Then he called out, Ya Zainab, Ya Kalthum, Ya Sukaina, Ya Rabab, come for the final goodbyes. He was surrounded by the women saying, Aba Abdullah, do not leave us, stay with us. He looks around, he says, where's Sukaina? Where's my daughter Sukaina? Zainab says to him, Sukaina's in the tent, she can't come out. Imam Hussein goes to her, he says, Sukaina, you are the daughter of the Prophet, we are the family of the Prophet, be patient. Allahu Akbar. They say as Imam al-Hussein carried into battle, there was a little girl who called out, saying, Ya Am, Ya Aba Abdullah, wait for me for a second. He stopped, he waited for her. She came up, she says, Am, carry me onto your horse. He carried her onto the horse. She says, Ya Am, laqad bakkara abi wa ammi ila al-ma. My father and my uncle, they left from the morning to get me water. Ya Am, and they still haven't come back and I am thirsty. Ya Am, where are they? He said to her, Bunayya, they left on a trip, they can't come back. She said, Ya Am, if they can't come back, can you bring me water? He says, Bunayya, if I take you, who will bring you back? And he calls out Zainab, he says, Zainab, come take her from me. She has broken my heart. They say then she came and took her, and as Imam Hussein is about to walk out, Zainab called him, says, Ya Hussein, wait for me for one moment. Oh Hussein, get off of your horse. They say Hussein got off of the horse. He says, what do you want, Zainab? She says, Hussein, undo your shirt. He says, what do you want, Zainab? She said, Hussein, come close to me. She smelled him in his neck and she kissed him in his chest. Then she turned towards Medina and she says, Ya Ummah, Ya Zahra, your will has been fulfilled. He says, Zainab, what will is this? She says, my mother told me on her last day, if you see Hussein all by himself, kiss him in his chest and smell him in his throat. The throat that will be cut in the chest, that will be the arrow's target. They say Imam Hussein carried into battle. He carried into battle until they surrounded Al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. They came to him from all corners. They couldn't kill him, so they started showering him with stones. They couldn't face him one-on-one until a stone hit the forehead of Imam al-Hussein. So the blood started spewing over his face. He carried his shirt. Imam al-Hussein wasn't wearing armor. He knew he was going to die. He lifted his shirt to wipe his forehead. At that point, Harmala struck him with an arrow that has 3 prongs. They say when Imam al-Hussein felt the arrow, he said, Bismillah wa billah wa ala billati Rasulillah. By Allah and for Allah, and on the path of Rasulullah. And they say when he saw this, he wanted to remove the arrow, but he couldn't. So he leaned over the horse and pushed the arrow. The arrow came from the back. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says, Ma kharaj al-sahm. The arrow did not leave until parts of the liver and the heart, or the heart of the Imam, came out with it. They say then the blood started gushing like a fountain. At that point, Hussein fell from his horse. At that point, Imam al-Hussein fell from his horse, unable to carry on with the battle, with the war. So he collected sand, he collected it, he made a pillow of sand and leaned against it. They say the women started arguing amongst themselves, saying, why can't I see Hussein? Why can't I hear his voice? Then another woman said, maybe the army got between us and them and the Imam. Sayyidah Zainab says, Hasha li akhi, this is my son, this is my brother, this is the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. No horses nor men get between us and him. Where is Hussein? Then she turned to Imam Zayn al-Abidin. She says, Ya Amma ya Ali, I see a dark cloud and redness in the sky. What is happening? He says, Ya Amma, let me see. She opened the tent for him. He says, Amma Zainab, alaykunna bil firar, run towards the desert, Amma Zainab. That is the head of my father on a long spear. No. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. اللهم بالحسين الوجيه وجده وأبيه وأمه وأخيه فرج عنا يا الله، اقض حوائجنا، شاف مرضانا. ساعد الله قلبك سيدي أبا عبد الله، ساعد الله قلب زينب. لا إله إلا الله. Zainab was left all alone with nobody to protect her, with nobody to watch over her. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم وإن حال بيني وبينه الموت الذي جعلته على عبادك حتما مقضيا. Oh Allah, and if death comes between me and my Imam, فأخرجني من قبري, raise me from my grave, resurrect me. شاهرا سيفي مجردا قناتي متزرا كفني ملبيا دعوة الداعي في الحاضر والبادي. اللهم أرنا الطلعة الرشيد والغرة الحميد واكحل ناظري بنظرة مني إليه. اللهم عجل فرجه. Brothers and sisters, we cry over Imam Hussein, but the one who cries over Imam Hussein is the Imam who says, I shall weep blood over instead of tears over you, O my grandfather. The one who is khaif and mutarabbas every day, he's waiting for us. I ask Allah by these tears, inshallah, that He hastens His reappearance. Ya Allah, ila arwah al-mu'mineen wal-mu'minat wa arwah man mata ala al-huda wal-iman. Brothers, remember, I ask you to keep me and my parents in your dua, and I will do the same for you, inshallah. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.